Hey there everybody. So as you can see, I got a 650 DL taken apart a little bit, mostly because excuse me, I had that persistent knocking in the low case. It seemed like the could be, you hear that noise from maybe the head or so, and in the 1000s they call it an idle hammer. But in this particular case, in the 650s, from what I understand, there's really no reason for that to happen. So I finally got tired of listening to it, and I tore it apart. And I haven't seen anybody with the side case open for a 650 out online. I thought you guys might like to see what's in there and what they think is probably the sound. Now, I ordered a new clutch basket. I have the old one here. I think part of the problem is that if you look inside there, that's a phosphorus or phosphor bronze or just bronze bushing, and it's got some little oil channels milled into it. So it basically is a wet bearing, and the oil is pumped. I'm going to move this. Is pumped through the hole in this sleeve, and then it's supposed to lubricate this whole pivot point and kind of turn into a wet bearing, so the whole thing is twisting just basically on a film of oil, and then your final drive shaft is here in the middle. And this is pretty heavy. This is without the gear. There's a gear on the back of this that runs the oil pump, and that's been mounted on the back of this one already. So there's quite a bit of weight inside this thing. It's pretty heavy. I couldn't find any real signs of wear. The clutch plates look fine. There is a different casting mark on the new one from the old one, but pretty much they're identical. So what I think most people are hearing is there's a bunch of slop between this this output gear on the engine it's hard to hear, but it's just to see. It's really in the thousandths of an inch, and I think what happens is you get the the kick of the piston on this, and there's just enough slop between the teeth on this gear and the teeth on your final output on the clutch basket that there's just enough in there to make a noise. And I think that's what's being heard, and I think on the forums there, other people are saying the same thing. It's not really a terminal problem. The valves have been checked on this. They're in perfect spec. The other place that there's a little bit of slop is if you grab this, you can feel a little bit of movement from side to side. I think mostly because they planned for that film of oil to fill up the void and create that cushion in there for that to ride on. I really think that probably could have been a bearing, the whole center of this mechanism. So what I'm expecting to happen is I get all this back together again, and it makes absolutely no difference at all, and I will have spent $300 on parts and time and some gaskets, and I don't think it'll really change anything. But I thought you'd like to see the inside of it and maybe just get a picture of what it looks like, and quite possibly what's the persisting problem. I've sat and stared at it. I can't think of a solution. Both gears would have to be milled out differently, or maybe some spring tension put against one of the gears to constantly be meshing on one side of the pattern. But I really think it is a case of one of those, even though it makes a crummy noise that nobody likes, there's probably no fixing it. So I'm going to ride it for a few days. I'm going to fill it up and put it back together. I'll leave a comment below, or I'll film another little video with maybe the sound, and I'll tell you whether or not this made any difference at all. I've mic'd out the new basket and that little inside bushing. It's not really any different. This bike has 13,000 miles on it. It's a 2009 Vstrom. Everything else runs great on it. Just makes that horrible, what sounds like a knocking noise down here in the lower case. Alright, that's it. It's a point of interest. Hope it was helpful, and maybe it'll keep you from tearing apart your own bike. We'll see here in a few days. Alright, take care.